Japan's Iron Lady.
George Santos pardoned. Is Diddy next?
And Reform's sinking flagship.
All this and more on this week's episode of News Sensation.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of News Sensation, where we take the wildest stories from this week in news. I'm Chris Patel.
And I'm Matty Curry. Now, Chris, it has really been a crazy week in news. I feel like there were so many stories we could have discussed today, but just we absolutely couldn't get around to it all. Great week for news watchers, which, to reference last week, is like a great week for Amnesty, where it's like, yeah, you're busy, but it's not good.
No, it's not good for the world.
It's not good.
Something that was good for the world. It's a great week to be a United watcher.
Oh!
In fact, Matty, I've got a news quote, and I want you to see if you can guess who said this.
Okay.
God bless you, Ruben Amorim.
Ooh, I have no idea.
Zoran Mamdani.
We're even bringing in the Gooners on this one, which is like a casual episode of News Sensation.
Yeah, that is most of our audience.
If I couldn't love Zoran Mamdani more, he comes out in support of Ruben Amorim.
He is an Arsenal fan, but...
Yeah, he is. But we all have our flaws.
We do.
I mean, to be fair, of the sort of American left politicians, his flaws haven't been as obvious this weekend. He was doing a charity football match and talking about Arsenal. And up in Maine, we don't need to talk about it. Anyway, I'm still recovering. Look it up. Great week in news for news watchers. But yeah, no, actually a fundamentally great week to be a United fan. I was in Piccadilly Station when the final whistle went because I was on my way to a gig.
Oh, no way.
And the scattered cheers as everyone else's phones responded to it being full time was great.
So I've been in Buenos Aires when... maybe not quite.
Harry Maguire, the little boy from Sheffield.
We've got some characters, it's fair to say, with a few more flaws in this week's episode.
We really do. Well, from the man with the brick head, slab at himself, and really the Golden Dome of Manchester.
Yeah, from the Golden Dome to the Iron Dome, we'll be taking you all across the weirdest, the wildest, the stories that just make you put your head in your hands in the week's news. But we'll try and help you make sense of it all.
We'll try and make you make sense of it all. We're going to hope to avoid some ritualistic suicides on this one, but it can't be promised because our first story of the day, we're going east. To Japan's Iron Lady. That's right. Sanai Takahashi was elected as Japan's first female prime minister on Tuesday. I was meant to do a really long-winded search of how to pronounce all the names in this story. I didn't. So this is going to be...
Can you give the audience a deep bow, please, Matty?
Now that's an apology bow.
It's like you're not even sorry at all.
I went 90 degrees on that one, Bab. I'm perpendicular.
That's as far as you can go without getting injured.
That's far as you can. I mean, I went off the camera, I think, there, so I don't know if they could see just how much I apologise for my horrific pronunciation.
Maybe learn from going off the camera.
That's a really advanced way of telling me to fuck off. That's great. No, well done, sir. Well done. But no, Sanai Takahashi was elected as Japan's first female prime minister. This was despite the seemingly progressive headline kind of murmuring through there. Takahashi is the new face of the country's ultra-conservative bloc.
Takaichi, I think, Matty.
Takaichi, I think.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Takaichi.
Well, you were saying Takachi.
Yeah, but
it's a... Maryland situation.
It's a Takachi 22, really. There's no right way to say it.
You turn my pedantry into something good for the podcast.
Thank you, sir.
That's why we're on episode 24.
That's why honestly, we are 2 episodes away from a half a year's worth of podcasts, and still we can't get to the first story with any sort of haste. But no, as an admirer of Thatcher, Maggie, the protege of Shinzo Abe, friend of the pod, which is to say, we've brought him up before in our story about the Moonies, his death being linked to...
yes, deep cut.
Deep cut. Takahashi is military-minded and socially strict, just how I like him. No. Standing in support of the imperial family's male-only succession, and in opposition to, which should be noted, New Sensation also has a male-only succession. This show will never be hosted by a woman. Mainly because I don't think a single woman watches this show apart from our mothers.
Well, on our social media, which is Instagram New Sensation, TikTok New Sensation Pod, I believe we have more of a female audience on our Instagram.
I think that's because of our little thumbnails.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's because of your moustache.
Maybe the moustache does drive them. I'm really lucky. I've managed to fall into a time in history where my look works for people, it will stop in about 2 or 3 years, and I will keep looking like this.
You're like Joaquin Phoenix in Her.
Honestly, the fact that film predicted both men's fashion and how men spend their lonely hours 10 years ahead of time is really... Spike Jonze, what a performance.
Labubu next week. Anyway, sorry, I'm distracted from Japanese politics.
We're getting away from the true Iron Ladies to the performative males of the West, which of course is a Japanese psyop. Takaichi is also in opposition to same-sex marriage, so she would hate this show, and the allowing of separate surnames for married couples, which it's just like, that's such pedantry. You think you're bad.
Oh, she's opposition to the allowing of it?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, Japan, as you remembered, very conservative country, was for a long time super isolationist. And so there's always been this lingering thread of an ultra-conservative sort of window. And you're really going to see that across this story.
That's because her husband doesn't want to have to learn how to pronounce her surname.
That's brutal. Well done. After winning the leadership of the Liberal Democratic Party, one of the most... one of the worst named parties. It's like, if you're thinking, wow, she really swung them to the right. No. She won that at the start of the month. Takaichi also received praise from Trump, who called her a highly respected person of great wisdom and strength ahead of his tour of Asia.
I've seen what he cheers for, Matty. I'm not convinced.
Now, but will Japan's Iron Lady successfully stabilise the LDP, which has had a very bad year, and Japan at large, whose economy is sort of in the shits right now, but whose isn't, really? Already, Takaichi has made life harder for the LDP, it should be said. The party is the dominant force in Japan. They've had near continuous power for over 70 years now, or actually bang on 70 years. It's something called since 1955, they've sort of had this continuity. There was a few years in the 90s and a few years in the early 2010s where this wasn't the case, but a combined 6 years across 70, good innings.
It's like the Cameroon People's Democratic Front from last week.
It really was. Another aptly named political party. But consecutive electoral defeats have forced the party into coalitions. The Conservative LDP has had a partnership with the centrist, Buddhist-backed Komeito, but Takaichi's ascension brought an end to that. A late deal with the right-wing Japan Innovation Party, which is sort of Osaka-based, kind of forward-leading, helped ensure victory in the prime ministerial vote earlier this week, but their coalition alone was still not enough for a majority in Japan's lower house, who decide the prime minister. Takaichi was able to wrangle votes from fringe minority parties to get her over the line this time, but her opposition was still not united. The questions remain whether this new alliance will last through the course of her premiership, and whether this approach of just getting by will work when she's taking a very bullish approach to her policies. Certainly Takaichi will try. One of her more famous quotes from earlier this month when she won the leadership was that she demanded her party to work like a horse, and said that she will abandon the work-life balance, saying, "I will work, 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 and work."
That is quite Thatcher.
That is very Thatcher. Work, 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 and work. Yeah, it's very crimes.
I get like some Gillian Anderson from that.
From my Maggie Thatcher.
Yeah, it's definitely like The Crown, Margaret Thatcher.
Yes. Yeah, of course. She did play... I was going to say she should have taken Meryl Streep's role in The Iron Lady, but she sort of did.
I think she also remained as Margaret Thatcher when she played Emily Maitlis. I didn't think that came off. But it's not a film podcast, guys.
It's not a film podcast.
Well, on the Patreon, we're talking about Dogma 25.
And Dogma 95. If this was a film podcast, I'd be far more qualified to talk about all of this. But instead, I'm just a little work weasel who kind of nibbles around the news stories of the week.
Work, and work.
Work. Tell me an...
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Fifth Harmony.
That's a different work. That was Rihanna. Come on. It's not a music podcast. But look, is work ethic enough? The former heavy metal drummer walks to her own beat. But it was just not quite Komeito's tempo.
Former heavy metal drummer?
Yeah, genuinely. Sick. She used to be big into motorbikes as well. And now she's lame. But no, her tough policies on immigration and regular visits to the Yasukuni shrine led to what Komeito leader Tetsuo Saito called Big Worry and Concern. The debate over Yasukuni Shrine, is a can of worms that I'm going to try to open and close, knowing I really can't close
That's not
it.
how cans of worms work. Oh, got one worm out.
It's like if I do it fast enough, Chris, if I do it with enough efficiency, and efficiency this is not an efficient podcast.
There's a pair of socks I left at the bottom of Pandora's box. I just gotta get them out.
The shrine honors Japan's 2.5 million war dead over the course of the last couple of centuries. Since 1978, this has included high-ranking war criminals.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, they're war dead too, Matty.
They're certainly dead, but are they to be enshrined and honoured? That's the question. When Japan marked the 80th anniversary of Emperor Hirohito's surrender speech back on August 15th of this year, the national ceremony took place at Budokan Hall, but there was a far-right bloc and a bipartisan coalition at Yasukuni. So I've now pronounced the shrine 5 different ways. It will be referred to as the shrine for most of this pod. Chinese and South Korean officials are outspoken in their displeasure. I can't say anything today. In their displeasure at any events at the shrine. Right, we're going to work through this.
It's tough out here.
It's tough out here. Look, we're an international pod.
We are.
And our international listeners tune in every week and go, what the hell is that?
Decent number of more Cameroon-based listeners now. After our story last week.
Controversially so. We've now lost all our Japanese listeners. This is where I win. This is where I win back the Chinese and South Korean blocks. Then. Now, the former president of Japan, Ishiba, sent a religious ornament, but otherwise steered clear of the shrine during all the proceedings. And since her habit of visiting the shrine broke up the LDP's partnership with Kamaito, big worry and concern, Takaichi has borrowed the same arm's length approach.
Right.
She was part of the block that was there on August 15th, I'm pretty sure, because she is, like I said, regular visitor to the shrine. It's not a good look. Not a good look, especially since it's worth noting that since the controversial war criminal editions in 1978, the Japanese emperors have stopped visiting the shrine.
Oh.
They're sort of leading the way in all of this. Emperor Naruhito's address at Budokan Hall revolved around the ideas of reflecting on our past and bearing in mind the feelings of deep remorse, while we continue to seek the peace and happiness of the people in the future. Very much a sense of we're looking back, but we also need to make sure we're moving forward. But it was actually Shinzo Abe who pushed for national pride instead of self-deprecation, and who stopped the practice of apologizing to victims of Japanese war crimes across Asia. Oh boy! Now, his protege, Takaichi, is seeking to revise the country's pacifist constitution.
Right.
So this real sense of almost a revisionist view of Japan's military history. Controversial, to say the least. I think again, this is where my pronunciation is going to be really interesting, because we often know it as the Rape of Nanking, because that's the Romanized form, but it's actually Nanjing, I think, in a lot of the Chinese texts. So the Rape of Nanjing kind of stands out amongst them all as it's sort of like, a massacre of 200,000, a rape of at least or around estimated 20,000. Not great. You should probably apologize. You should probably keep apologizing for that. The bow can only go so deep. You've got to keep bowing. But yeah, the fact that Shinzo Abe kind of got this rolling, it makes sense that Takaichi is along the same line. But her greatest struggle won't come on the battlefield. She must first take on the rising prices that have eroded the support for the LDP. Something she says is about living up to the expectations of the people. Now, this could prove hard to balance while strengthening the military, especially if she can't keep her own troops in line.
Pause for effect.
Pause for effect. I know, very dramatic.
While we cook up the segue into this next story. Well, we're going to have to go to the segue factory for this one, Matty.
We really are. We've been talking about the complicated history of war criminals enshrined in Japan's culture.
Where's he going?
Where's he going with this?
Let him land.
Let him land. Here we land. But going into a different sort of world of seedy criminal activity and perhaps the complicated legacy of those involved, Trump's pardons have really made the headlines this past week, with one that's gone through that I think we both find very entertaining.
He's good, isn't he? He's made up for all the Japanese mispronunciations. But yes, George Santos was expelled from the US Congress for lying and jailed for wire fraud and identity theft. But now Trump has pardoned him. and he's back on the streets. So here's Santos in his release. Here's a picture. That's in the show notes. We've got him next to Stingy from Lazy Town. And yeah, honestly, he's very he's disconcertingly smooth.
Yeah, so I think he's got a great skincare routine.
Yeah, and maybe a great, surgery.
Wire fraud routine.
Yeah, a great wire fraud routine. But he's said, very Japanese of him, I owe the
we've met him at a very Japanese time in his life.
He said, I owe the American people an apology. But Matty, he also owes them...
How deep is your bow?
He also owes them $373,000. But he no longer has to pay it after the pardon because Trump waived it, which has made his victims angry.
You reckon Michelle Mone wants a pardon like that? Doug Barrowman's like, please.
I used to pray for pardons like this. The original sentence was 87 months, which is more than 7 years for you English heads out there, not the math heads that I'm sure don't listen to this podcast.
No, it's not really led by math heads, is it?
Not really.
All my meth heads and math heads out there, how are we doing?
He'd only served 3 months of that 7-year sentence, though, when Trump pardoned him last week. Here's a quote from Trump. You ready? Mm-hmm. George Santos... No, I'm not going to do that. George Santos was somewhat of a rogue, but there are many rogues throughout our country that aren't forced to serve 7 years in prison. At least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to always vote Republican. Bear in mind, Santos left the Republican Party after saying it was a party that stood for nothing and fell for everything. But was he just a rogue? Well, I'll let you decide. Here's how he got to this point. So George Santos, his history of lies, I'd say, probably rivals Donald Trump's.
That's saying something. I mean, Channel 4 did like a 3-hour-long Trump lies documentary thing recently.
I would even say that you could attribute some of Trump's false statements to senility. George Santos is in the prime of his life.
Well, it depends.
He's in the crime of his life.
He's in the crime of his life. Very Japanese. No, wait. No. More Peruvian from last week. We've met him at a very Odebrecht time in his life.
We really have. So he's falsely claimed that his grandparents survived the Holocaust and
insane.
that his mum died in 9/11. He's allegedly lied about his college degrees, his work experience, his campaign finances, his animal charity, and his religion.
What do we know about George Santos besides his many crimes?
He looks like Stingy from Lazy Town. That's all we know. So the first line of his Wikipedia page reads, George Anthony Devolder Santos was born on July 22nd, 1988. To give you a sense of how deep his lies go, that section has 2 different fact checks.
What?
It's like, is that his name? And where was he born then? His mother Fatima reportedly had to leave a nanny job after concerns were raised about missing items.
Oh?
So the source for that is a book by Mark Chiazzano called The Fabulist, The Lying, Grifting, Stealing, and Very American Legend of George Santos. That's wonderful.
That's a wonderful headline. Yeah.
The book also claims that Santos too developed a reputation for theft and deceit as a child.
Oh, as a child? Start him young. Project Mbappe.
As a young Stingy. But he moved to Brazil, where his family's from, in 2008.
It is a very Odebrecht time in his life.
It is, where he was a fan of Jair Bolsonaro.
Oh dear.
The former Brazilian president, who, if you missed it, is currently serving a 27-year prison sentence for trying to use the military to keep himself in power.
Yeah, talking of banged up rogues.
He's maybe found an ideological soulmate in Bolsonaro, because Santos has called same-sex couples an attack on the family unit.
The call is coming from inside the house. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Confusingly, Santos is gay. Bolsonaro has said that if he had a gay son, he would hope he dies in an accident.
That's Kevin Hart-esque from Bolsonaro.
Legend. I actually don't know what. Can you remember what Kevin Hart said?
I can't, but I remember it being pretty bloody bad. It cost him the Oscars job, and you've got to tell some bad jokes to lose that job. I mean, they've had Jimmy Kimmel telling the jokes on there for the last 10 years.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
No, it's
shout out the Man Show.
Definitely want to make the dinner table quite quiet there from Bolsonaro. Just knives and forks. Santos got into hot water later for his time in Brazil because he reportedly performed as a drag queen while he was over there, but later denied this when he was a member of the famously anti-drag Republican Party.
Yeah, something that me and Santos share in common: the history in drag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except I think he denies his, and his was much more long lasting.
No, and I fully embraced my one night of glory as Katy Perry. This is true.
Oh, what a night.
Oh, what a night. That's going to go viral. If we clip just me talking about drag on TikTok, the people are going to be hungry for that.
No, our listeners are really racist. But you can be a racist drag queen because... No, I'm not saying George Santos is racist. Yet.
We're getting to it.
Multiple Brazilian drag queens have come forward and say they remember him. I used to have a drink with this guy. But there's a video which we'll link in the show notes, which fact-checking site Snopes said they can't determine whether it's him. Oh, honey.
Yeah. That's a bit like saying, can we determine whether that tattoo on Graham Plattner is a totem calf?
Yeah. We will let you decide.
Yeah.
It is the spit of George Santos. In 2020, the year he unsuccessfully campaigned for the US House of Representatives, Santos handed Republican officials a CV that included 2 totally made-up degrees and 2 totally made-up jobs. So he claimed that he graduated summa cum laude from New York's Baruch College.
Okay.
For non-American listeners, that's like the best you can get. And he got a master's in business administration. Both those degrees were fake.
He's a LinkedIn warrior.
Yeah, no. He said that embellishments. There were embellishments.
Yeah.
He also said he worked at the investment banks Citigroup and Goldman Sachs,
Right.
doubling revenue from 300 million to 600 million at the latter. He never worked as either one.
I was going to say, Goldman would not let you go if you did that.
No.
Doubled their revenue.
Absolutely not. Santos was a relative unknown in 2020 when he lost that election to Democrats Tom Suozzi. But as he prepared to make his second run, he gave permission for his campaign to run a routine background check on him. It found that he'd been involved with a company accused of a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
Odebrecht. And eviction records, business records, and a suspended Florida driver's license, which raised questions about his earnings and whether he was actually a lawful New York resident. But he told his team he was staying in the race, and most of them quit in protest.
That's always a good sign.
But he won the election anyway. During that campaign, he courted donations from pro-Israel activists by saying he was Jewish, even though he'd already told the New York Post that he was Catholic.
Many such cases.
He even reportedly claimed to donors that he helped produce Broadway's famous flop, the Spider-Man musical.
Turn off the dark? Unbelievable.
He did not. And honestly, you would you want to own that?
I think it's like maybe it helps to have like if you're trying to picture yourself as a New York Jew to say, well, I've worked on Broadway.
Maybe, yeah. It would help, revive the dinner table conversation after Jair Bolsonaro's made some comments.
Do you know I produced Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark? That might make it worse. That's too far.
Only 8 days after the start of his tenure, 4 Republican congressmen called for Santos to resign. Reminder, he's from the Republican Party. And calls grew and grew until he was eventually indicted on the wire fraud and identity theft charges.
Okay.
But House Democrats joined with some Republicans to expel him from the House. Other way around. House Republicans, no.
House Democrats joined Republicans.
That was the right way around.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
I'm losing my confidence, Matty. I've lost my mojo.
I think I feel after the Japan story, man. I was scrambling out there.
Deep bows from both of us at the end. A few of the motions to expel Santos failed, but just before the successful motion, Santos called the man who brought it a pussy and said that no one was going to kick a New Yorker out of Congress. And then he was kicked out of Congress. So what's he going to do now, Matty? Santos says he plans now to dedicate his life to prison reform. A good idea, because you should still be there. He also said, I do not carry shame. I do not carry I do carry purpose.
I was going to say, it's such a hard line.
Yeah.
He's just like, I don't carry shame, I carry purpose. That's so cunty.
That's like, George Santos not carrying shame.
Yeah, I mean...
He could not be less Japanese if he tried. It didn't meet him at a Japanese time in his life.
No.
Fox News host Sean Hannity.
That bastion of truth.
Yeah, interviewed Santos this week and asked him that even though the hundreds of thousands of pounds he owed have now been waived, whether he thinks he should pay it back. Santos replied, I think that the right thing to do is to explore a way to make it right.
Okay.
Part of actually squaring away with everything that's happened in my life is to start fresh. So is that a no?
I think that's a no.
I wonder if he'll be reviving his podcast, Pants on Fire with George Santos. Which, I mean, not to brag, but our most viewed video has more views than their least.
Really?
And we're not famous at all.
We're not famous at all. We're breaking that glass ceiling of Santos.
They've got a straight up 472 view video. And like their only videos of them well is they've had Matt and Evan on, the like troll kid.
Yeah.
Like, read 10 books. And they've had Walter Masterson on, and they're the only ones who've like broken like 5 figures.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Is like George Santos is like he's managed to stay relevant just by being chaotic.
Yeah,
and that is his strategy. It's thriving in chaos.
Well, he's managed to somehow stay irrelevant. Like if you look at like there's like 6 comments on each page, on each like video, and I mean. That's a lot for us. But, we're no storied liars.
Speaking of erroneously using the Jewish faith to curry support and favour, the headlines this week in the UK, especially in the sports world, unfortunately haven't been dominated by an unbelievable Manchester United performance at Anfield to break a 9-year streak of not winning there. No, they've been dominated instead by actually next month's news, which is that Maccabi Tel Aviv will not be at Villa Park for their Europa League match.
No!
Oh, no!
I really wanted to watch that.
Except potentially Tommy Robinson. Now, the decision last week by West Midlands Police and Birmingham's Safety Advisory Group to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from their game against Aston Villa drew criticism from everyone's favourite Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
Return of the sausages.
Return the sausages. Who deemed it the wrong decision. And we'll get to it.
Sausage is also like a very unfortunate food to name Jewish hostages as.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Of all the foods.
Nothing kosher about that.
Return of the gefilte fish.
Well done. Right, the developments since have only made the situation messier. Now, why the ban? West Midlands Police consider the match to be high risk based on current intelligence and previous incidents, prompting public safety concerns outside the Stadium Bowl and the ability to deal with any potential protests on the night. And we're going to get to why that actually is fair enough. So Simon Foster, the Birmingham official who oversees the local police force, joined Starmer in his critiques, urging for an immediate review, while Mayor of West Midlands, Richard Parker, called on the authorities to find a workable solution and probed the idea of the government covering some of the policing costs, because part of it was they were worried that they couldn't afford to get it all rolling.
Surely the Premier League should cover.
It's not a Premier League event, it's UEFA.
Surely UEFA should cover policing costs.
Famously, UEFA like to stay out of everything.
Yeah.
They're a very passive organisation.
Well, Alexander Chefrin's also been looking at banning Israeli teams, hasn't he?
Well, this is something that we'll get to. And actually, we can talk about it now if you like. It's actually the UN. So the UN's sort of specialists on the case. I've got some notes on it here. Chris getting ahead of schedule.
I don't want to jump the gun, guys.
No, you jump the gun, baby, because this is actually super interesting. Just last month, they called on FIFA and UEFA to suspend Israel as a country team from international football amid the country committing a genocide. And they base this on not only the precedent of how this works within international football, how this has happened before, but also stating that sporting bodies must not turn a blind eye to grave human rights violations, especially when their platforms are used to normalise injustices.
Yeah.
Now, this wouldn't necessarily extend to Israeli clubs, but we've seen how that can go with Russia, for example, where sort of Russian clubs saw their involvement in international games really stripped back and banned. And again, you're getting into the Eurovision argument of who do you ban, who don't you ban.
Yeah.
But the main thing is to look at internal rules violations. And oh my God, who doesn't love internal rules violations? Look, the point is this. Can Starmer really suggest it was the wrong decision, whilst also saying that the role of the police is to ensure all football fans can enjoy the game without fear of violence or intimidation? Two very key words in this story. So, last year, and this has been on the lips of many a critique of the decisions, but also many different things, 5 people had to be treated in hospital after a series of violent incidents took place around the Maccabi match against Ajax. Amsterdam Mayor Femke Halsema wrote that the events have left their mark on the city and led to fear, anger, and sadness. Which is how I typically feel after a European night. But that's only in the last 10 years. Now, after the banning of pro-Palestinian demonstrators by local authorities, Maccabi fans marched the game chanting "Death to Arabs." And
Still only a bit worse than the average Chelsea chant.
And they would later chant, and this is diabolical. Fair Square wrote to UEFA quoting this. Why is school out in Gaza? There are no children left there. And that's what they were chanting when they arrived back in Israel at the airport.
And Starmer and Kemi Badenoch want those fans in this country.
Yeah. No thanks.
No.
No thank you. I think I'll pass. Now, in the hours that followed, there was a string of flash attacks. Not flasher attacks. Very important distinction. This is somehow even worse. With reports of locals on scooters and on foot attacking Maccabi supporters, with perpetrators referring to it, this is through like Telegram channels where you know that things are going to get dark, as a Jew hunt.
Right.
And referring to the supporters as cancer dogs. Now, police who had anticipated action en masse were caught completely off guard and unprepared, something the West Midlands police fear could happen again.
Yeah.
Now, this week, a few days after the decision by West Midlands police, the derby between Maccabi and Hapoel Tel Aviv was abandoned out of concern for public safety, with 42 people reportedly injured by rioting fans, with dozens arrested. Good signs.
Yeah, good sign when you get banned in Israel.
Yeah. The fans had fired flares and smoke grenades onto the field and across the stands. Now, Maccabi's statement was that these are the actions of exclusively Hapoel fans and not Maccabi fans, while Hapoel called the decision to abandon the match outrageous and hasty. I don't think it was. I think that's a perfectly legitimate reason to abandon the match. This wouldn't be the first time that Maccabi were able to sort of shift the blame. They had a match against a team in Haifa about 6 months ago, which was also abandoned for very similar scenes. Now, the UK Football Policing Unit are going to investigate the match to see if Maccabi held any responsibility. But whatever they find is unlikely to affect proceedings at Villa Park, because should the ban even be overturned, Maccabi has announced they won't accept their ticket allocations, because a toxic atmosphere has been created which makes the safety of our fans wishing to attend very much in doubt. Interesting. Now, Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy has pointed to the backdrop of rising anti-Semitism here and across the world as something that can't be ignored when discussing this matter. The Amsterdam Jew hunt and the recent attack in Manchester really do prove her point. But as it stands, the away end will likely be empty at Villa Park in November, and questions will continue to be asked about the place of Israel and its clubs in international competition. Here's the thing. I think it's very important to point out where there is anti-Semitism in all of this.
Yes.
A Jew hunt is anti-Semitic, believe it or not. But do you know what you can't do? March around the street chanting death to Arabs. Because that's racist. Fan violence and involvement in fan violence has led to bans consistently over the last few decades.
And in English football.
If you go and tragedy chant at the football, if between United and Liverpool, which unfortunately has been a hotbed for it over the years, and you're caught doing that, you're thrown out and banned from the stadium.
Exactly.
We don't accept that. We shouldn't accept that. Look, they're not being banned because they're Jewish. That's not how this works at all.
No.
And to think that it's a fundamentally Jewish practice, because it's not like they're getting banned because they want kosher food at Villa Park. To think it's a fundamentally Jewish practice to walk around the streets chanting death to Arabs and saying why there are no schools in Gaza because there's no children left. That's anti-Semitic. Yeah. That's a disgusting approach.
It's asinine to suggest that they are being banned because they're Jewish, because of the massive Jewish contingent of supporters that clubs like Arsenal and Tottenham have.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like you're not seeing it's like, oh, the North London derbies this weekend, can't have Tottenham fans there.
Yeah.
If Tottenham fans the prior week had been throwing flares on the pitch or had been going around the streets of London, Liverpool and Manchester chanting racist and Islamophobic slurs, then yeah, maybe they would see a goddamn ban. It's important to know, football can be a unifying force. And that's if you're watching it or playing it, it's one of the highest privileges, I think, in the world. To be able to sit down in peace and watch football and then be stressed out by it.
And watch your team, Maccabi Tel Aviv, get battered.
Yeah. It's strange for me as a United fan to say it's a privilege to watch football, because usually it's absolute torture. But that's just a very Ashkenazi thing for me to say. It's like, I delight in my own suffering.
Yeah, my tummy hurts come 60 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, those who mar the beautiful game with rioting and bigotry should not have a place at any ground, anywhere. Look, their end should remain empty until you can fill it with someone more deserving.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism can't be tolerated, but neither can the gleeful celebration of genocide be accepted. And ironically enough, that's what anti-Semites have been doing for the last 80 years. So, really, what are we doing here? Pot, kettle, black, and all that just for them to reject the seats anyway. Outrageous.
Speaking of, gleeful celebrations of genocide, there's somebody in this next story who might have some interesting
You'd
views.
find him in there, yeah.
Yeah, but the US has had an even weirder week than usual. In fact, there's so much stuff, Matty, that I could do a separate intro for it. Shall we?
Go ahead.
Trump endorses a Nazi.
What's the other one?
Oh, he doesn't have the page.
Sorry, I don't have the page. Miami cop car.
And will Diddy get a pardon? Yeah. Yes, it's new sensationception. New sensation within new sensation. So to the first story, Donald Trump endorses Nazis. Who'd have thought?
Didn't see that one coming at all.
Yeah, Trump's nominee for Special Counsel of the United States, Paul Ingrassia, has had his group chats leaked, including one in which he boasts of his Nazi streak. You met me at a very Nazi time in my life.
Is somebody going to match my freak, my Nazi streak? For real.
Bars. Here's another choice quote. MLK Jr. was the 1960s George Floyd, and his holiday should be ended and tossed into the seventh circle of hell, not even the lowest circle of hell, where it belongs. Like, if you're going to be a racist, get it right.
So yeah, if you look at the sort of fascists of the world, they think that Britain is at the lowest circle of hell for turning their back on Israel, and they think a few tiers up is Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, the final burial of the 6-7 meme is when you ask Paul Ingrassia how many tiers the hell has.
6-7, you know.
On that, I saw a Guardian article which was like, "What's 6-7?" Like a parent explainer. It's like they acknowledged at the end. Well, adults know about it now, so it'll be going away.
Oh,
it'll be
God.
Going away soon.
Well, actually, it's going to go away in Belgium, isn't it? Because they're going around with their signs saying
But it's
no to
protesting
67.
Is it the retirement age?
Retirement age of 67. Yeah.
No 6-7. One member of that group chat read that message and responded, "Jesus Christ." Another said, "Paul, you are coming across as a white nationalist, which is beneficial to nobody."
Yeah, I mean, fair play to the boys calling him out there.
Yeah,
But I imagine,
but
like,
if your boys don't call you out, you're not really your boys.
yeah, but also if you're boys with Paul, get your head checked.
He said he wanted to get rid of Kwanzaa, Black History Month, and Juneteenth, using an Italian-American slur for black people to describe them, which, if you've seen The Sopranos or like any kind of mob film, you'll know which one I mean.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
But when discussing why some Republicans feel that Democrats make black people into victims, Ingrassia texted, "Blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them. Please don't clip that."
Please don't clip that.
Let's
Please
put
don't
a watermark over that. Quote.
Quote. That's an insane comment.
I mean, there's more.
Oh my God.
In February 2024, Ingrassia wrote on this group chat, it's got history. "We need competent white men in positions of leadership. The founding fathers were wrong that all men are created equal. We need to reject that part of our heritage."
This is disgusting. This is fundamentally disgusting.
Even by Trump nominee standards.
This is low.
I know.
This is like the seventh circle of hell.
There is more than that, but if you want to read the rest of the racist crap, it's Politico who broke this story, so check their article out. We'll link it down below.
Chris doesn't want any more clips made of this.
No, please. Here's a picture of Ingrassia. We'll link that too. And if you weren't on board with white supremacy before, just click the link and have a look at this supreme specimen. Whoa.
It's always the least supreme individual.
Yeah, he's like Randall's assistant from Monsters, Inc. A lawyer for Ingrassia, Edward Andrew Paltzik, said, "Looks like these texts could be manipulated or are being provided with material context omitted. However, even if the texts are authentic, they clearly read as self-deprecating and satirical humour."
No.
Even though, as we've heard, the other people in the group chat didn't take it as a joke.
No.
Also, Ingrassia once attended a rally hosted by American neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes. Scourge of the timeline.
Scourge of the timeline, whose name just keeps popping up everywhere at the moment, and it's just disgusting.
Last year, in that same group chat, one participant said of Ingrassia, "Paul belongs in the Hitler Youth with Übergruppenführer Steve Bannon."
If that's the company you're keeping.
Ingrassia's Senate confirmation hearing is scheduled for later today when this episode goes out, so I guess we'll see how that one goes. But should you take my word for it on that story? In the words of another one of Paul Ingrassia's leaked texts, "Never trust an Indian."
Now that I can get... No, wait.
Wait. Clip Matty.
Don't clip me, please.
I know, I do the clipping.
Oh, no.
We're going to have no reels this week. It's just going to be you saying that. So, onto the Miami cop car. We'll take the heat out of the situation.
Sorry, cool off a second.
The heat? Yeah.
Nice.
See, I can do basketball sometimes. But
I really can't.
I'm going to have like a nightmare later where I say that and you turn to me and go, "It's baseball."
No, you're absolutely correct. Miami Heat.
Whew, thank God. Miami police has unveiled America's first self-driving cop car that fires drones.
That's terrifying.
No, wait.
Wait. Robot Wars are cop car.
It's called a PUG, or a police unmanned ground vehicle. Surely
It's really-
PUG.
Yeah, well, yeah. Just when you thought pugs couldn't get any more grim. And half the listener base now hates me for that one.
Get off your crushed velvet sofa. Go on. It has AI patrol functions, which automate situational awareness, reporting, and patrol of residential and business districts, and will display key messages to the community from its windows.
Okay.
Big Brother is watching you. The vehicle was debuted with a pyrotechnic display last week in Supercars
Like
in Miami,
Iron Man.
like the Charlie Kirk funeral, and like the Hunger Games, the Hunger Games capital. Yeah. Miami-Dade Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz said, "It's such an important key piece to provide our community touchpoints and technology that will only make us a safer place to be." If you spotted the slight grammatical errors in that quote, that might be a giveaway that she is a robot herself.
Yeah. Or just use a robot to make that speech. Yeah.
I think, next week.
Also, can it really be called safe when we've seen things like in San Francisco, or was it LA, where the self-driving car crashed into the food delivery droid?
Clanker on clanker violence downtown.
Was that what Paul called them before? No, sorry.
The cruiser can pull over cars and issue tickets. Which, if a robot car says, "Oh, I'm giving you a ticket," I'm getting a hatchet out of the back. If I move to America, I'm just assuming I would have a hatchet in the back of my car.
Yeah. Is it having like a gun in your glove box, a water pistol? Just
Yeah. The most I currently have in the back of my car is like a mic stand. I don't know if I'd be on smoke if I moved to America. It also has a drone, in case you missed it from before, which deploys from the roof of the vehicle, as well as thermal imaging, 360-degree cameras, license plate readers, audio sensors, and touchscreen windows. That last one's
with
kind of lame.
thermal imaging and all this, it's somewhere between RoboCop and the Predator.
Yeah. But Sheriff Stutz said it was designed to patrol hotspots and cover areas where resources are limited. So like hurricanes, for example.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to
So it's safer to patrol rather than putting a human in the vehicle.
Yeah, but at the moment it's going to be like just pulling over cars and issuing tickets.
Right.
It won't be used in police chases as it's speed limited and unable to drive on highways.
Right.
Which, that's good. Out of the things to draw out of this story, that's a good thing. But eventually the PUG will be allowed to drive the streets of Miami-Dade unmanned.
Okay.
But for now, it's got a deputy in the front.
Yeah. I mean, I want to make a joke about US policing, but I feel like it's a bit near to the knuckle.
Yep.
Yeah. Just gonna like take a big old swing at this one. Shohei Ohtani, Game 4, 3 home runs kind of vibe. Well, all I was going to say is, I mean, bearing in mind what we've seen from AIs over in the States with sort of like the Mecha Hitler moment with Grok and all those different things, how long before the unmanned police car stops slowing down when it comes across certain groups of pedestrians?
Well, I think that is a valid fear because the future of automation in policing, especially AI, has its dark sides. So Palantir, Peter Thiel's company, which uses AI to do predictive policing. Yeah, it's not as nice as it sounds.
No. That's like Minority Report meets hatred of minorities. Yeah.
It's been used by ICE in America, which
Of course it has.
is best known
Of course it
for
has.
deporting foreign-born American residents without due process.
Uh-huh.
And in the UK, back in August, we had the first unmanned police helicopter,
Right.
which is intended to carry out searches for missing people and suspects.
Oh.
When sent a Freedom of Information request by the Good Law Project in February, 3/4 of UK police forces refused to even say whether they have contracts with Palantir. Keir Starmer's obviously recently embraced Palantir into the military with open arms.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
They're literally named after the orb in Lord of the Rings. It gives you a perverse view of the world. Like, it gives you the worst case outlook on reality.
Well, Peter Thiel, who looks like he's had the outer layer of his skin removed, is like he
the
does
Antichrist specialist.
Yeah, he does lectures in his spare time on the Antichrist,
which is his autobiography.
Yeah, but to him, the Antichrist is people who speak out against AI. That's who he's saying the Antichrist is. You could not make it up.
You couldn't make it up.
But
I wish it was made up.
to something that I hope is made up, the Diddy pardon. Days after
I don't
Donald,
know, did he?
days after Donald Trump pardoned George Santos, news website TMZ published a rumor that Trump is considering pardoning P. Diddy as well, who's currently serving time for transportation to engage in prostitution. And I've seen softballs in my time. Considering the mountain of sexual abuse and assault allegations against Diddy. But the White House said, there is zero truth to the TMZ report. We'd have gladly explained had they reached out before running their fake news. The president, not anonymous sources, is the final decider on pardons and commutations.
Yeah.
But TMZ is sticking by its story after the White House statement. It claims that it has a source which said Trump is vacillating on the possibility of pardoning Diddy, and that he could be pardoned within the week.
Well, this is the thing, is it's like we've already seen him kind of be tempted by the Ghislaine Maxwell situation. And then, if we're saying that the thing that's meant to shut this all down is a press statement from the White House.
Yeah.
If there's anything that carries absolutely no weight in the realms of truth. The nation was gripped a few years back in the height of lockdown by the Jackie Weaver situation. And we are once more in the grips of a Zoom council meeting, just capturing the imagination.
Game's back.
The game is so back. And speaking of being back, Jordan numbers from this county. That's right, Kent has won the Matty Curry Award for worst county in the country.
Hey.
3 years going. 3-peat, baby.
We'll do an award show at the end of the year, but this is a good early award.
Someone asked Kent County Council what they would do if they didn't win. And I guess we'll never know.
Come on.
Now, Reform have backed Lyndon Kemcaran amid calls for the Kent County Council leader's resignation. This follows a suspension of 4 Kent Reform councillors, bringing their total since May to 7 to no longer be part of that Reform bloc, after a council meeting was leaked. Now, Kemcaran says it is business as usual. What?
As we'll find out, emphasis on the Karen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, the leaked video released by The Guardian opens with Kemcaran saying, "Because I am not a dictator and autocrat, I like feedback." We will find out. Yeah, we'll also find out how badly that aged. I like to discuss. I like to hear what everybody thinks. However, when it comes to making the really big decisions, sometimes I will make a decision that might not be liked by everybody in the group. But I'm afraid you're just going to have to fucking suck it up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn, Karen.
Damn, Karen. Now, she cited local government reforms, or LGRs, as part of these really big decisions.
Sound like a catchy street name.
LGRs.
LGR.
Angel dust. No, then fellow councillor Paul Thomas complained, and keep the name in mind, by the way, complained that reform backbenchers weren't being briefed on LGR plans by council leadership, and said the question is that the right leader and the right cabinet? Basically, LGRs is like, this is where they're really at the mercy of the big government decisions. Like, actually, for as much as reform wants to be bullish, like Rachel Reeves' budget decides everything.
Right, yeah.
But also the LGRs is looking to sort of like sweep through the actual local councils around Kent, of which she accused the leaders of not liking her because she's a woman, which they've promptly come out and said, "We don't like you because you're you." Now, Councillor Dean Burns was similarly glum when he addressed the mentoring scheme in the council. "Let's face it," he said, "the situation within the group is not great at the moment. I work my arse off in my own portfolio, and I'm still getting a rod up my backside every time."
Lucky Dean.
Lucky Dean. It's Burns, all right. Now, there's a lot of backbiting going on, and that tends to come from the top down.
Yo.
My goodness.
Pause.
There was an NSFW warning on that council meeting, it should be stated. Now, perhaps the comment that aged best came from Kemcaran herself. She said, "We need to keep resolutely focused on balancing the budget and showing we can run a council without us all fighting like rats in a sack."
It's quite self-aware.
It really is. And oh boy, the rats are fighting. After the release of the video, she decried the leak as treachery, saying the people who did this are cowards. They are weak, they are foolish, they are incapable of displaying true courage themselves, so they look to harm those who are. Really man-in-the-arena stuff. She set out her plan for handling the situation as follows. "I passed on my suspicion to the Politburo, of who is responsible for this treachery to head office, and a thorough investigation is already underway."
The bigger sack with more rats and some cats and dogs in it.
Yeah, bigger sack, more rats heated up from the bottom, and they only have a taste for rat. For all you fans of Skyfall out there. The guilty parties will be expelled from the Reform Party without delay. They will have no political future. And, I mean, they were quick. So that statement came out the day after the Guardian article with the video. The day after that, the councillors were suspended. 4 of them. They are Oliver Bradshaw, Bill Barrett, Maxine Fothergill, and the aforementioned Paul Thomas, for asking all the wrong questions. 2 other Reform councillors have already been suspended in Kent, along with one who joined UKIP. Which
this Reform Party's going nowhere. I'm going to join UKIP.
That's like being on a boat and seeing, wow, this ship is sinking. I'm going to dive off this boat and swim down till I find the Titanic and sit there instead. Now, as outright winners in May, Kem Karen describes Kent as Reform's flagship council, hence the pressure she feels over their legal duty to balance their £2.5 billion budget. Yeah, councils get a lot of money.
Yeah, Kent is a big place.
Yeah, but also, like, man, councils get more money than you think.
Yeah.
In the leaked videos, she says, if we can avoid putting up council tax by a full 5%, that is going to be the best thing that we can do to show that Reform can actually run something as big as Kent Council. Really proving that one. Now, back in February, the then Conservative-led council raised council tax by 4.989% for the 2025-2026 financial year, falling within the 5% threshold, which is why she's so worried about it, so as to not require a referendum.
Why not 999?
Because that's taking the piss.
Yeah, 989 is fine.
989, fine. But it does round up to 4.99, in case you were wondering. Now, part of Reform's financial policies to avoid a referendum of their own was their rescinding last month of the council's climate emergency declaration if we couldn't sink any lower, and the scrapping of their net zero 2030 target with what was described as an energy efficiency plan focused on financial returns, with aims to investigate opportunities to create additional revenue streams.
But, getting rid of actual streams.
Yeah. Getting rid of actual streams. And also the fact that, like, net zero, green energy is one of, like, if you want to get part of the government's plans, greener energy is where the government's pumping a lot of its money. The industry secretary, Ed Miliband, is super big on all the green energy stuff, anti-fracking, everything. Like, if you want money, go green. This is also the worldwide thing at the moment. Even like the Gulf states are like, yeah, for the next 5 or 10 years, the money's going to swing massively towards green.
Yeah.
Also, they're doing all this while trying to appeal for a nuclear site. You're not going to win that appeal if you are running counter to the government's energy policies. Yeah. Anyway, This is what prompted the Green Party councillor in Kent, Stuart Jeffrey, to say that Kent is at the forefront of climate impacts. We are severely water stressed. We will suffer the most from summer heat waves. The sea level rises will devastate communities, and we will have new diseases such as dengue to contend with.
That is crazy.
Crazy. But these are the really big decisions. Just be careful if you ask if you have the right leader to make them. Right? She said this is the ones that she makes. A letter addressed to Farage this week from 7 Labour MPs states that if the leader of KCC thinks that this is business as usual, then she's clearly not up to the job and she should step down. Swearing and berating other councillors is not only deeply unprofessional, but it undermines respect for those in public life and services. Again, it's one of those things which seems quite common sense, but you'd be surprised. They finished it to say, the people of Kent deserve better. But do they? Or do they deserve dengue? Apparently it depends who you ask. But enjoy your worst county award, Kent. You've really earned it yet again.
And if you want to write us, a bit of hate mail, if you're from Kent, then you can email us at newsensationpod@gmail.com.
That's newsensationpod@gmail.com. I look forward to reading your hate mail. And again, if you want to follow us on our Instagram and TikTok, you can follow us on Instagram @newsensation, and on TikTok @newsensationpod.
Yes.
Where you can see the disparity between the videos of me and the videos of mainly Chris. Which threatens to fracture our relationship more than my comment earlier.
I can't. It's water under the bridge, Matty.
It's water under the bridge.
You won't be getting any clips this week.
No, but we won't be getting any views then. But in the meantime, he's been Chris Patel.
And for the last time, he's been Matty Curry.
Thank you for tuning in.